excited to have all y'all here in the house for the first time. I'm super excited for the first Doulos meeting. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Alright, so first I'm actually going to read a verse, and I want y'all to think about this verse while I'm giving my testimony, and just throughout the night and the week. I think it's a really powerful verse, and a lot of people don't think about it that much. But it's Psalms 34:18. It's, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Okay. Now we get to the fun part. So I was raised in a home where God was known and loved by my parents, my grandparents, aunts, uncles, you name it. And I always went to church growing up. We went to Bible study, Wednesday night, Sunday school, and it was sometimes really hard because I did grow up in a military family, but one of the constants in my life was always family and God and having them together at the same time, which made growing up a lot easier. So during this time, I grew up in that whole situation, constantly moving. It was my second grade year, and my parents sent me to Camp World Life. This is a Christian girls camp over the summer, and we had just gone through a night of song worship at the lake. One of my favorite things to do is just sing for like 45 minutes. You have to try and suggest it, it's great. So we did that, and I just felt so overwhelmed by the Holy Spirit. Like, I was in this place, I was so vulnerable with all these girls, like I had just gotten to know the entire week. And in that moment, I decided to dedicate my life to Christ for the first time. So, time moving forward, like a lot, elementary school, middle school, and half through high school, like, life was great. I portrayed the whole perfect Christian girl, went to church, was part of all the clubs, participated in volleyball, had all the great friends. I did anything and everything you named it, I had to be the best at it. Not only that, didn't drink, didn't do drugs, I didn't party, always turned my schoolwork in, always went to class. So this continued on freshman, sophomore year, and then February 14th, yes, Valentine's Day, 2012, I had a knee injury. So in that moment, my life was over. Instead of being the girl who constantly sought after God and constantly wanted friendship, love, happiness, I became a totally different and unrecognizable person. I fell into a very deep darkness of hatred, most of all anger, bitterness, spitefulness. Anyone who crossed me, I would just turn them into dust. Like, no one was untouchable. Like, I was done. I wasn't dealing with it anymore. God was out of my life. I stood at the door and slammed it in his face. I was like, I'm done with it. It's not worth it anymore. So I stayed like that for about 2 years, the rest of high school, pretended everything was okay, put that perfect Christian girl life back on just because that's what I was supposed to do, right? So in that, my parents sent me to church therapy to talk about my feelings, and I learned about forgiveness, love, and all those things you're supposed to do as a Christian. And I thought, okay, so I know what I'm doing, I'm good. Like, I can go on with life, get to college. You have acceptance day, another February 14th, a year later actually, from the date of my injury. I get accepted to UF, one of the greatest days of my life. I come to UF, I rush, join Sigma Kappa, have one of the best freshman years ever, game days, Doulos for the first time, you name it, I probably did it. But still living that whole mold of life that I had in high school. The perfect Christian girl, didn't drink, didn't do this, didn't do that, never stayed out too late, always had a curfew, always was in time for class, never missed a class, never skipped it, never did anything I wasn't supposed to do. So that continued on, like I said, freshman and well into the second semester of my sophomore year. And then I come back from winter break after thinking everything's perfectly and fine. And my sister Victoria, actually, she decided it would be a good idea to invite me to the spring retreat of 2016 for the Doulos, so this past spring. And on a whim, I decided, sure, why not, let's go. So we get there, I'm having a good time, and then the second session that they had, you guys want to talk about something when you hit a wall, you hit a big brick wall. The word sin. When I think about that, I think about physical sin that you can see, like when you lie, you cheat, when you idolize something, sexual immorality, any of those things that you physically see and you think of when you think of sin. I was like, oh, that's sin. But that's not what the lesson was about. It was about all sin. So those things you think about, those things that you've done that you don't want to admit to. That's what it was about, and that's what hurt the most, is I had to look at myself and say, am I really that person? Do I really do those things? Like, can I think for a second, like, what have I done in the past day that was actually sin? And so while they were talking, I just started to break down. I was in tears, and I wrote the list. I wrote a physical list so that I was actually admitting to what I'd done. I thought the past second, the past day, the past hour, the past month, the past 18, 19, 20 years of my highlight what I've done. I'm actually going to read y'all the list I wrote in my journal from that day. So it's titled My Sins. I have impurity, comparison, self-ambition, envy, jealousy, fits of rage, and worst of all, and the thing I hate the most about it is my anger. Is that blinded me from 4 years of love, friendship, and all of that. And I realized in that moment that's what was stopping me from having a true one-on-one relationship with Christ. Is the hate I had towards him, the hate I had towards everyone that I told myself didn't exist because I had gone and talked about it. So in that moment I decided I can't hate anymore. I can't let that be my deciding factor, what I choose to do and what I don't choose to do. So at the end of that weekend, I promised myself, God, and Victoria, that I was going to build that relationship. I wasn't going to just let it fade away. I was going to put brick by brick, like Moses did with the tree, and I was going to let it flourish. I was going to let it grow inside of me and let people see it on the outside. And so after that, that's when my life became anew again, and I have not stopped looking back since. God's done some of the most amazing things I've ever seen. I'm a control freak. I have a personality. I know a lot of you are in this room. So I don't like to give control to anyone. I have backup plans to my backup plans. And I decided, well, God decided actually, that he was going to strip that from me and send me to Greek Summit. I had no control over it. I had to be at the mercy and the trust and the weakness of knowing I didn't get to control this. And I put all of that on God for the first time. So instead of slamming the door in his face like I did previously when I didn't have control and turning towards anger, I decided to be that weak child and run towards my Father for the first time and embrace him completely and wholly. And since then, it's been the most amazing experience. For the first time having Doulos at our house, for the first time having a freshman devotion at Sigma Kappa, which I never thought I would ever do. That is the biggest struggle I've ever had, is how can I talk to people about loving Christ and about following him and being with him when I still struggle with that on a daily basis. Every single day, I'm looking at like, how can I talk to these people? How can I actually make an impact? And the reason I can make that impact is because I'm struggling through all those things, because I'm still going through the relationship and because I'm still trying to find that relationship footing. And that's one of the best things, is I have that beautiful, amazing, awesome, precious relationship with him. It grows every day, but it is one of the most trying, the most testful, and one of the most difficult relationships you will ever be in. And from that I've learned I'm not the perfect Christian girl. I will never be the perfect Christian girl. But I am God's child, and that is a lot better to me